Hi everyone, my name's Lily. I'm the book reviewer behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I'm going to be doing my monthly Librofm chat. If you don't know, every month I go through the sale audiobooks on Librofm and I tell you the ones that are on my TBR, or ones that I'm recommending, ones that I'm picking up, and we kind of just chat about the great audiobook deals for that month. If you don't know about Librofm, it is an audiobook subscription service. So you can subscribe, you pay $14.99 every month, and you get a credit for an audiobook. So that's their base kind of service. But then every month they have special sales on audiobooks and also two specially curated playlists, the YA Club and the Kiss Club, which I'm going to talk about today. Those ones are on sale. You don't need to have an active membership to buy the sale audiobooks, but if you do, you'll save an additional 30% off of the sale price. So that's all that I'm going to chat about now. Oh, by the way, and all the links down below are affiliate links, just because I listen to audiobooks a lot, and Librofm is my favorite audiobook platform. If you've been around for a little bit, you'll know that I really love audiobooks. So we're gonna do the YA Club list first, which this one had a lot of them, so buckle in. The first one that I saw was Wicked As You Wish by Rin Chupeco. I really enjoyed listening to the audiobook of this. I think I listened to not Wicked As You Wish, or the third one, I think World's End. It's by the same narrator as well. So I really enjoyed this one. If you knew how much I loved The Bone Witch by Rin Chupeco, Wicked As You Wish is a separate series, and it's a lot more playful, a lot more fun. You can tell that kind of just all sort of pretenses are gone. There's also a lot of mythology in it as well, as opposed to The Bone Witch, so I had to recommend that one. There's also The Throwback, which is on my TBR. I actually got an arc of this one and I haven't read it, and so The Throwback is on my personal TBR. I'm very tempted to pick it up. It is in my cart as we speak. The next one is A British Girl's Guide to Hurricanes and Heartbreak by Laura Taylor Namey. I really enjoy Laura Taylor Namey books. Also, I give them all to my mom as well, so it's double approved. British Girl's Guide is actually the sequel to A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow. You don't need to have read the first one to read the second one, because they're not technically sequels in that sense. They're more of companion novels. You don't have to read it if you don't want to. I would, because you get a little bit more backstory into the side characters behind, but you don't have to. You know, there are some where you feel like you have to read both, really, even though people say you don't. But this is one of the ones where if you haven't read the first one, you can still jump into this one, fine. Also, there's Surrender Your Sons, which is by Adam Sass, if you recognize that. I moderated a panel with Adam Sass and Terry J. Benton Walker a while ago. I'll put the link down below. This is a thriller from Adam Sass, Surrender Your Sons, and it's basically the main character comes out, and then she has him kidnapped and sent to a secluded island, which is basically also like a conversion and therapy camp. But there's a lot of secrets and mysterious things behind it, so it's a thriller. I definitely enjoyed this one. I think of all the Adam Sass ones, my favorite one in terms of the thriller horror-ish ones have to be Your Lonely Nights Are Over, but Surrender Your Sons is a very close second. There is also Bonesmith, which is the first in the House of the Dead duology, and Ghostsmith is actually coming out today. It's coming out today. So if you've been thinking about it, you can easily jump into Bonesmith so you can get ready for Ghostsmith. If you love stories with incredibly complex, messy families, if you love stories with necromancy and bone magic vibes, then Bonesmith is definitely the thing you have to listen to. I've been following Nikki Pao Preto since Crown of Feathers, which is the first in the Crown of Feathers trilogy and also Nikki's debut, and I've really enjoyed that one. And so Bonesmith was a really, really lovely way to read a new series, and I already read Ghostsmith and I really enjoyed that one, so you might have seen the review, but definitely can recommend that. Another Laura Taylor Namey book, When We Were Them, is on sale. This is actually could be my favorite Laura Taylor Namey book, just because it's about friendship and friendship breakups. Basically, she is at graduation and she finds this memory box, and the memory box reminds her of this friendship that kind of crumbled, and we're thinking about why did it crumble. And the questions about when we were this other person before and what we thought this moment would be like, that's kind of when we were them. And so it was really, really emotional, really heartbreaking. If you've or if you've experienced a friendship breakup, When We Were Them is kind of like that. But there's also hope, there's also love, and there's also betrayal and secrets too. So definitely recommend that one. As I said, it's probably my favorite of Laura Taylor Namie's books. House of Rage and Sorrow is on sale. This is actually a second book. It is actually the sequel to A Spark of... Oh, it's up there. But it's actually the sequel to in the Celestial Trilogy, and it's a sequel to, I think, A Spark of White Fire. But I could be wrong. If you've read that one, though, you definitely should just pick up this one. I've loved this series so much. It's like this combination of science fiction and fantasy. There are kind of these all-powerful gods. There's also spaceships. I think also maybe sentient spaceships. It's set in space. There's typical god antics where there's like god politics and then humans that are thrown into the god politics. And I really, really have loved this series. I'm happy to see book 2 is on sale. Stealing Infinity is on my TBR. Very tempted to pick this one up. I don't know anything about it. I just saw the beautiful editions for Stealing Infinity, and it also is multiple narrators. It has 3 narrators, so that's always a good sign. I love a good multiple narrator audiobook. What was it, though? Oh, it's like a remote island school, and it's a school for time travelers, which is definitely why I was thinking about reading it. So as I said, that one is in my cart. Blaze Wrath Games is so good. It's by Amparo Ortiz, and I think I don't remember what the next one is called, but it's the first one, and it's basically, if you've been enjoying the Olympics coverage, this is like surrounded by a World Cup where they're playing this sport which has dragons and dragon riders. It's about this team dynamic. It's also about her coming to terms with her heritage as well. And there's also political dragon sanctuary action as well going on in the background. Ruin Song, I feel like I've talked about before. I really love Ruin Song. It's about the power of the voice, and also when you feel like you've been forced to do things that you don't agree with, things that are wrong, how you kind of course correct and how you use your voice to change and to make amends. Ruin Song is that. It also has musical magic in it. That may be why you recognize it from me. The Life in Medieval Times of Kit Sweetly is also on sale, which I've definitely mentioned before in the past. It's about a girl who works at one of those like Renaissance medieval themed restaurants, and she wants to be a knight and she's not allowed to be a knight. And so she kind of starts this movement within not only her restaurant, but kind of the restaurants as well. This talk about gender restrictions and also just about her and her dreams. Jamie Paxton is an author, and The Life of Medieval Times of Kit Sweetly is probably one of my favorites. The next one is Time of Our Lives, which is on my TBR. I have never read one of these Emily Wibberley, Austin Sigmund Broca books. Wait, no, I've read the adult books, but I've never read any of the YA books. And so I've just been hearing a lot about the books, and that's why it's on my TBR. If you've read them, let me know below which one I should start off with, because there's like 4 or 5 of them. The Voting Booth, very, very relevant for this year, but it's basically about a character who I think she is helping people vote. She recognizes someone from school who can't vote for some reason. I can't exactly remember. She sees him being turned away from the polling place and is determined to allow him to vote. And so it's about them and about their relationship, but it's also about kind of what the election means to each of them. So now I'm going to talk about the Kiss Club. There weren't that many this month. The first one is Truly, Madly, Deeply, which I don't think I have read this one. I have read a lot of Alexandria Bellafleur's books, like Written in the Stars, for example. I don't think I have read this one. But for the price of $3.99, very, very tempted. It's like a 90% off or something like that. Anyway, it is when a lovelorn romance novelist and a divorce lawyer have sparks. I think that is such a really fun thing. They agree to co-host a podcast series offering dating advice. So like, what more do you need? I feel like that is a perfect hook to it. And as I said, I've read other of the novels from Bellafleur, and I've enjoyed those ones. So definitely promising start. The next one is American Royalty, which I definitely own, I think. But I've seen this author, Tracy Livesay, around a bunch, and I've actually seen it a few times in these sales, and it's a kind of a romance with royals, and so it's a prince who wants to live out of the spotlight, falls for a daring American rapper who turns his life and palace upside down. So if you love, what was that book, like The Prince and Me, or not the book, the movie with, I think, Julia Stiles. If you like those kinds of vibes, then I definitely think that this is something you should check out, and it's on my TBR already. Then there's All the Feels, which is the second in the Spoiler Alert series, and it is about actors. So the Spoiler Alert series are about actors, and this one is another co-star on Gods of the Gates. And so he is trying to save his career. Then there's also a, what is ER therapist? A former ER therapist. I don't even know what ER therapist stands for. I totally forgot what it is. Anyway, and she's hired to keep him in line. And so sparks fly there. I remember it's a lot about vulnerability and about opening up to each other, not only for the main, it's dual perspective, so not only for the Alexander character, who is the actor, but also for the therapist. They talk about vulnerability and sort of what it would take to open up to someone new. There's also Knockout, which is not the first one of the Hell's Bells novels. I think this could be the second, or maybe actually third, of the Hell's Bells novels. This is a series that has been on my TBR for forever. I've really loved the Bare Knuckle Bastard series, I think, which is what Sarah MacLean has written before. And this is on my TBR. I've really wanted to read it because I really enjoyed Sarah MacLean's take on an historical fiction setting and also the romance, and merging those two together. It's a hit and miss sometimes for me with historical fiction romance, and that one definitely was a hit. So I'm excited for this one. But as I said, I think it's the third one. Yeah, it's a third one. So if you're interested in it, like I am, this might be your incentive to go back and to read the other ones. And now I'm just going to talk about sale audiobooks that don't really necessarily fit into any of the other curated playlists, because the playlists before, they are curated. So they're not only just kind of all romance books, they are curated. The first one is This Is How You Lose the Time War, which, okay, one of my favorite novella series. It has two narrators, one of whom is Emily Wu Zeller, who I've mentioned before in previous videos. How do I even describe this? It's like, it is very well loved for really good reasons, and it's about a romantic novella, which is spanning time and space. They're two time-traveling rivals who fall in love on separate sides of this kind of time-traveling war and need to change the past to ensure their future. Like, it is honestly so good. I'm thinking about rereading it just because of how much hype I've seen for it since I read it. And when I read it, it was already well loved, but it's just become so much more well loved since then. And so I'm tempted to reread it. Next one is The Emperor and the Endless Palace, which is already in my library and I haven't read yet, but it's basically a queer romance debut. It is set in okay, there are unrelated timelines, or there are timelines in this book which are woven together. Two men are reborn lifetime after lifetime. Can they ever really be together? That's kind of the premise. This sounds so much like what I should be reading. It's supposed to be spicy as well. Like, I have a short list of books that I want to be reading or listening to, and I'm just adding this to the short list. Next one is Here We Go Again, which is one of my favorite books from April, I think. But it's basically two ex-friends who have to go on a road trip with each other, and also this teacher, which they both really loved and both with a formative impact on their lives, and what could happen. I love this whole friends to ex-friends to maybe more kind of vibe, and it's also a lot about them having to figure out why they aren't friends anymore and what happened. So this one was so fun. Next one is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. These mead mishaps books are just hilariously fun, low-stakes romantasy books. They have high stakes, actually, but I mean low stakes in the fact that it's a romance, so you know kind of what's going to happen at the end. But there are really high stakes for the world and the characters, but it's just so swoony, spicy, fun, and like comforting, I guess. I've done a few things with Kimberly Lemming, and so I will put down below the link for the panel I did so that Kimberly can explain it a little bit better. But these are just so fun and entirely worth the hype. The next one is When No One Is Watching, which I haven't read, but I actually own the book of, not the audiobook, but it says Rear Window meets Get Out. It's about a thriller. Also, Alyssa Cole is an author that I've read other books from, like the romance books, so this is the thriller debut, and so that's why it was on my TBR. I'm very excited for this one. I'm contemplating the audiobook just because it's a little bit easier for me to think about, but I actually already own it as well. The next one is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, which I feel like I've mentioned so many different times at this point, but it's by Axie O, and honestly, Axie has written so many different genres. I think Axie made it into my like versatile author list with good reason, and The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea has made it so, or has been so popular recently with good reason. It's kind of this swooning story about family and sacrifice, and has a character, Mina, who I really, really love at the core of the book. The next one is You Had Me at Hola. This is the first in, I think, a trilogy, The Primas of Power by Alexis Daria. I really, really enjoyed this one. The main character is a soap opera actress. She has a messy public breakup, and then she decides to go and film a starring role in a bilingual romantic comedy. And so then she is also paired up with someone unexpected. So I really like this. It's all about kind of like leading ladies, this whole series of The Primas of Power. And I've really enjoyed You Had Me at Hola. And I think also... the second one, which is A Lot Like Adios. And then the next one is Along Came Amor, which hasn't come out yet, but I'm also really excited for that one. And then the final one is This Is Why They Hate Us. I really enjoyed this book. It's about the main character has basically a summer with a variety of different kind of love interests and is chatting about kind of the idea of getting over one person by trying to find a new person, but what would that mean? Also, kind of how can he live his truth and be out as well? So it just has a lot of really tender, heart-wrenching moments. Also, Erin is such a really nice person. I will also link below anyone who I've done panels with, and I've done a panel with Erin, and I really enjoyed this one, and I had to recommend it for the audiobook sales. So those were all the Librofm audiobook sales for the month of August. I hope you found some that you've enjoyed. I know that when I make these ones, I find a lot of ones that I've enjoyed, and I find a lot of ones that I have in my cart and also get. So that is the end. Let me know down below what you are currently listening to, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.